So it's our turn to look at the national service scandal. Where do we start from? Let's start from the history. So we know that this national service conversation has started in 2015. There was a big scandal when President Mahama was president in 2015 that was dealt with, and that's it here. Former national service boss, others, charged for stealing over 100 million. Apparently this case is still on trial, and this is a May 2015 publication, and it's 10 years old, and they are still in court. It's been a long time since they came to court. I think they are on bail. They come to court every time. Why are we putting this in perspective? Because we are certain how this thing started. This is not the first time President Mahama is having to deal with national service. This one, he's dealing with national service predating his time, Akufo-Addo's time. But on this occasion, the earlier one, he dealt with national service within his time. So this is not the first time. Let's get that record straight. Now, what are we dealing with right now? Now, the big story that has come that is making all of us worried, everybody, every Ghanaian should be worried, is that there are discrepancies between the figure that the National Service Authority presented to the general public and the eventual figure that documents in Parliament have about who is doing national service. So the concern is that, whereas, for example, but we'll get the details here, if 100 people were doing national service as published by the National Service Secretariat, the figure that goes to Parliament is showing 135. Everybody is worried that what is happening to the gap between 100 and which people are occupying that space. And the big suggestion that has come from the media, and especially the Fourth Estate, is that these are ghost names, these are fraudulent names, and the evidence is by multiple, they say, index numbers showing the same, people using different funny images to represent themselves. Sometimes where it has to be passport photograph is not, etc., etc. The evidence is by that. So that is the big story. Now, we have found some documents that sort of explains how and why there is an 85,000 and a big deficit of 134. And we are wondering why the Fourth Estate did not see this, but they should have seen it. But we are suggesting it to you so that you can tell them that there's something happening that they might not see. Before we do that, though, let's listen to Suleiman Brima, who had a presentation on TV3 about this national service scandal. Now, he talked about the discrepancy. I'd like us to listen to him and then come back and show you what we have, and then we can continue with the conversation. It's a very, very interesting conversation, and I'm going to have it with the most important people about this story. Let's hear Suleiman Brima.
So if you look at that year, the very first year of President Akufo-Addo, 2017-2018 national service year, they announced that 91,871 students or graduates are eligible for national service. In the end, 88,939 took up the national service. And all people we've spoken to say that should be the norm, because it's not every graduate coming out of school in that same year who will take up national service. Some will travel abroad, some may, go into private businesses and avoid doing national service, and so on and so forth. And so it's not everyone who graduates in that year who take up national service. So that year, you would see that the number of people eligible, you had fewer, 2,000 less, those who took up their service. And that is what it's supposed to be. But the following year, 2018-2019, they said 85,708 people are graduating and are eligible for national service. But see what happened. 135,603 were those who were claimed to have done the service. So a difference of 49,895.
So you had Suleiman Brima. He said that in 2018-2019, whereas 85,000 people were told, whereas the Ghanaian public were told that 85,000 people were doing their national service across the country, it turned out that documents in Parliament showed that it's 134. Now, how did this happen? We have found the reason. So let's turn to the issue 2 of what has been published as a document that some of you may have seen. Difference between parliamentary and public announcements. Okay, the figures submitted at the parliamentaries have significant discrepancies from what is available to the public. It was observed that the investigative report only considered the general enrollment figures, but ignored the following: nursing enrollment batch 1, nursing enrollment batch 2, and teacher trainees. So this is where the issue is, viewers. This is where the issue is on this matter. The discrepancies, which is a discrepancy showing the public announcement and the the parliamentary report. But let me just say this before I get to the details. Once we bring Parliament in, we have to give them some credit. So National Service does not generate the names themselves. The names are submitted to the National Service, as Suleiman Brahma said, by the institutions. So National Service goes to Parliament and says that I have 85,000 I'm dealing with. Parliament doesn't take that information from National Service, hook, line, and sinker. They will ask National Service, how do you know you have 85? They will have to attach the documents that show that they have 85. So if they tell Parliament, they tell the general public 85, and tell Parliament 135, Parliament will not swallow the 135 hook, line, and sinker. They'll ask them that, where did you get the 135 from? Because you don't generate your own National Service names. Well, there may be a few at the National Service headquarters who are doing National Service there one way or the other, but they were all posted there from somewhere. So the Parliament cannot be told 134 and it's a vacuum and Parliament will just look at it. So once we saw that, we suspected that there's something we are not looking at. So we found it. Here it is. The nurses training. So in 2018, the nurses were not part of National Service. So in 2018, the Nurses Association, first of all, teachers were added first. So now we have both nurses and teachers in as part of National Service. They are treated as nurses and teachers National Service. And then there's the regular National Service. So there are potentially 3 files of National Service. Regular, that's tertiary, polytechnic, and allied institutions. Then next, teachers. Those who have gone to teacher training colleges and are required to do National Service only since 2018. And then nurses, those who are in nurses training colleges and are required to do National Service only since 2018-2019. They were added to the regular National Service. Now, we also found that at each stage that this was happening, the National Service Secretariats published it. It's still online, actually, as I speak. I'm not sure why the Fourth Estate, with their big online presence or their big online understanding, missed these documents on the online today, right now. Any of you are watching me can go and look at it. We have to deal with the National Service scandal, but we have to say what it is and see where the problem is. It's very, very important. It's not political. It's not NDC, MPP. It is just we doing our work the way we have to do it, so that when we bring out the scandal, we have really brought out a scandal. Now, here it is. This document is published in March 30th, 2018. National Service Scheme releases nurses postings. The National Service Scheme has released postings of 9,199 nurses for the 2018-2019 service year to various health facilities in all 10 regions across the country. A statement signed by Acting Executive Director of the National Service, Mustafa Yusuf, urged all eligible nurses, blah, blah, blah. So nurses were added. Now, we have to get back to the Fourth Estate and tell them that, can you please add the category of nurses and let's see what the deficit is so we can come to the conclusion and ask the people to answer the question. So that was nurses. There were actually 2 categories of nurses. Then this is another one. National Service Scheme postings of teachers. The National Service Scheme has released postings of 16,000 newly trained teachers to the 2018-2019 service year to various educational institutions in all the 10 regions across the country to undertake their 1-year mandatory. So you will have to add 16,000 to the 15,000 of nurses batch 1 and add the figure of nurses batch 2 to see whether you actually get the deficit. Whether you get the deficit or not, it is an important part of the story that we have to say these things were there. So that when people come and they are saying that there's a scandal, we have to look at it in proper perspective, isn't it? Now, here is the letter from, what date is this? This is 13th November 2018. And is the beginning of the conversation that teachers should do National Service. This letter evidence that we can put on our social media page and everybody can see it. This letter evidence that matter in terms of the conversation that teachers should be part of National Service. So the critical question about the discrepancies is that it looked like the media house, the Fourth Estate, I think you have omitted teachers National Service and nurses National Service. Please add that and let's see what we get, and then we can have the conversation, isn't it? The next thing we're going to deal with is the index numbers. So they talk about how index numbers are duplicated and how this is that and all of that. Can we watch Suleiman Brahma again on that, and let's see what we have on that one? Can we watch Suleiman Brahma again on that?
So if you look at Winneba, this is how they give their index numbers. Straight numbers. Like University of Ghana. True. I went to University of Ghana. Mm-hmm. So you have straight index figures. Mm-hmm. So 2244, blah, 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 blah. But look at what they created for people in the system. And thousands of these. I think the first one is basically somebody's Ghana card number.
2021-04-003.
You know, no, it begins here.
No,
this is one person's. Sorry, this is one person's index number.
Flip. Yes.
Yes. So 3907 GH slash da 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 da. That's the index number for someone. And then UEW that VLOT da 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 UEW that. So we sent the list to these universities, and they say no, but we don't know anything. We don't have index numbers like this. So this is University of Education Winneba, and there are thousands and thousands of these. This is Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Mm-hmm. They also use just figures, absolute numbers.
Wow.
And look at the fake index, some of the fake index numbers that they've created for assigning students to that university. That these are students who completed KN, UST, didn't do national service, and